Gamebreakers is home to everything esports and basketball. Let's break the game.
Welcome, folks, to the Gamebreakers podcast. I'm your host, Kalman Szevgary. Today, we have a very special guest joining us in the studio, Patricia Bebia. Patricia is a celebrated director, producer, media entrepreneur known for her impactful storytelling with over 15 television programs to her credit and co-owner of Afro Global Television. She has garnered numerous accolades, including the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Medal and the Martin Luther King Dreamkeeper Award. Let's take a look at the trailer to The Life Coach, Patricia's new movie.
Life is stupido talking. Swimming, drowning, or sailing.
I think he has mental illness.
He's not my son. He's a bastard!
I feel like I'm about to lose everything, and I'm so helpless.
Rise and rise again, till the lambs become lions!
Business people act on logical facts.
I really want to thank you for helping Leon find me. You saved my life.
It's not that bad.
The Life Coach follows Gary Johnson, a celebrated thought leader and inspirational speaker who, despite his widespread success, battles with depression. In search of solace, he creates an anonymous social media account where he connects with Lorraine, who provides him with encouragement. As the relationship deepens, Lorraine wishes to meet him, but Gary fears revealing his true identity due to past trauma. The film highlights the importance of authentic connections, showcasing the transformative journey of healing and self-discovery as Gary, with the support of his loyal assistant Leon, confronts his vulnerabilities and the strength found in companionship. The movie's amazing, by the way. The film, The Life Coach, to date has won the Audience Choice Award at CTFF, the Best Actor at Paris Women Cinefest, and Best Director for Inspirational Film at Director Talents Movie Awards in London. And get ready for the theatrical release across Canada on March 28th. Wow, that's an introduction. Patricia, it's an honor. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here today. I know you're very busy. Thank you for taking the time to meet us today at our Queen Street studio. Congratulations, by the way, with The Life Coach.
Thank you, and thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. Can we start, with the Gamebreakers, we'd like to talk and meet with leaders in sports, esports, now film, entertainment, music. Hence the reason why you're here. We do want to sort of tap in today. It's not going to be sort of that regular interview. I want to dig deep into your leadership skills and how it is that you led a team to create such an amazing new movie that's hitting theaters in Canada, which is really quite difficult for Canadian filmmakers, as we all know. Number one, so how did this all begin? What inspired you to create The Life Coach?
First of all, thank you again for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
It's our pleasure.
But I've always believed in the transformative power of the media. Many years ago, I remember I've had a TV show on Omni since 2002 called Planet Africa. And one day I went to an event and a girl was jumping over me. She was so excited, and I was like, waiting for me to stop doing exactly what this was all about. And she said, I just graduated. So I'm like, okay. She's like, I was watching your show one day and you interviewed this guy who was blind and, he was a dentist and became blind. And because he couldn't practice dentistry, went to study law and was so good, he won a Fulbright scholarship.
Wow.
To further his studies. And so she said she was just sitting there depressed and just eating her mother's food and doing nothing. And when she saw this guy, she's like, he's blind and he decided to go study law and I'm here. So she started calling colleges the same day and she ended up going to school. Now she walks. And so she was telling me, Patricia, and that was the day I made up my mind to start using the media as a tool to transform lives. It made me understand that what I was doing was very important. And this movie is in that direction. I just wanted to tell a story that will resonate. So many people have gone through childhood trauma. They have pain trapped in them. And every day we have to show up and pretend like everything is okay, especially in this era of social media where, the airbrush just photos of people. And even in my own life, I mean, I have a public life, which looks almost perfect, but I do have a lot of struggles that nobody knows about. So I wanted to tell a story that will help us to have conversations about mental health, about self-acceptance, about the importance of authentic human connections.
That's so important today.
It is. I mean, you can't, we're not created to be lonely or to be alone or to do it all by ourselves. And it's time to go back to that village and to the way that things are supposed to be. So I wanted to tell this story, but a little bit of this story stems from my dad's experience. My dad had some developmental delays as a child and could not speak. And his father did reject him, but he eventually not only spoke, became a preacher, and was a wonderful, wonderful dad and made a lot of difference in the community that he lived in. So, and my dad lived a life of transparency, even though he hid the struggle for a long time. By the time he told us about his childhood, it was like, he was like already an old man, and I could still see the trauma. That was actually my first time the first time I experienced trauma that was not my own, when my dad told us his story. So in a nutshell, that's why I wanted to tell a story like this.
No, it's amazing. And I, when you told me, I mean, I remember seeing one of the first edits. You had invited me in to see the first edit of the movie. And I remember you telling me that story, and it really grabbed me because it was such a personal, I could tell it was such a very important story for you to tell. And we talk about how filmmakers you need that extreme sort of passion and desire to tell that story in a lot of cases in order to actually get the film both written and directed and produced and made. And it's just amazing that you've done this.
Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. So, and you've kind of answered my second question here. Can you share the initial idea or experience that sparked the film's concept? That's amazing. Can you describe the story sort of behind the film and some of the themes that you wanted to explore? I know that you've kind of hinted or touched upon some of that already, but what was, I guess, when you started to write the story, was there a certain message that you felt strongly about sort of getting across in the original script?
Yeah. So when I was writing the script, I wanted to tell the story of a man that had a perfect public image and was dealing with, some personal struggle with mental health, self-acceptance, and other things. Okay. I wanted to dabble into a few themes and bring to play things that plague us as a society that we often overlook. I also wanted to speak about things that people are afraid to talk about. So one of the themes there is mental health struggle, which a lot of people deal with. I don't understand why it should still be a taboo, because as we know, it's a spectrum, and it's been said that actually statistics show that 50% of Canadians, at least once in their lifetime, will experience mental health challenge. And 60% of people with mental health struggles do not seek for help. And that's because of the stigma surrounding it. Yeah. So, that is something that, we dabble into in this film. Yes. And also the effect of developmental delays in the lives of family members. So we have a child with developmental delays. Yeah. I do have one. It affects not only that child, affects the marriage, affects the other children. It affects the social life of the people around this child. That's something that we never really notice or talk about or even realize, right? And then there's a whole issue of childhood trauma that is trapped in most of us. I mean, a lot of people feel, okay, that thing happened when I was a kid. I've moved on, I'm older. But listen, you were still the same person. That child is still in there. So whatever that child, was going through, the pain, the trauma, it's affecting you. It's affecting how you see the world. It's affecting how you go about your business, your confidence
level. I know
what you do, what you don't do.
Well, even I'll be honest with you too. On my end, like thinking about what you're saying. Myself being, my father gave me a little movie camera, and I was 8 years old shooting, films in Hungary, family movies. Wow. But up until that time too, my dad was also very strict with me in terms of, hey, Cal, you should be an engineer, lawyer, doctor possibly. And for you to get involved in film or something creative was just sort of a no-no. But when, I had to break through all this to study at film school at York, because he didn't consider it something as a craft or as something that you could make a living at, I guess you could say. And this, it was years ago, it was 20, 30 years ago. But no, I can see though that it's still happening today with parents and children of today, where maybe a parent isn't willing to give their children the opportunity to maybe study or work in a field that they'd like to work in. And that alone hampers a lot of people. I mean, that's a topic for another day with you. But no, but it's really, I find it, it's not easy to take a look and write, develop, and shoot, direct a movie that conquers or looks to conquer issues surrounding mental health. Like that's a rarity. Like
I know the funny thing,
why,
a lot of people think because we're dealing with heavy subject matter in this film that it's not a fun film. I've sat in a few rooms where people watch the film and they're laughing at times, they're crying at times, and it's I think it's well woven to make
it's
sure
very
that
nicely balanced.
It's not preachy at all. You're not like, they're trying to shove the message of mental health or self-acceptance down my throat. No, it's a beautifully woven film, and people will enjoy just watching it.
No, the characters are awesome too. Like you do get hooked in by, and you did such a great job with developing the characters, and
thank you.
Very distinctive, and their dialogue is great. I mean, folks will see the movie in theaters, obviously, but it is really well written, and that's the one thing that I found when I saw the first cut. I hadn't read the script. I'll be honest with you. I think there were times when I could have or should have, but I wanted to be able to kind of see it as a first. For the first time, just like everyone else. And I thought, wow, this is incredible, particularly for someone this is technically your first feature, right?
This is technically it is my first feature.
Right. Yeah. And they're not easy to make. Feature films are not easy to make. So this here is, as a female and a person of diversity, you've been a trailblazer on many fronts, including starting your own TV channel with the Afro Global Television Network and your magazines as well. You're now, you're not only a proven director, but also a screenwriter, storyteller who dared to tell a story that dealt with mental issues. But could you tell us about some of the challenges then you faced when writing the story for the screen? Because were you sort of trying to figure out how it is that you were going to get this message across without being too preachy? I mean, that would be some of my worries if I was writing it,
Yes. I think because my dad's story was like the backdrop, it helped. Okay. So there was like a real life story that I was kind of like drawing from, getting inspiration from. So, so that was kind of feeding me as I went along. I didn't want to tell my dad's story entirely, because my dad did not have hallucinations like Gary Johnson did, but he was affected by his trauma in a way that affected us as children. He was very quiet, almost cold, and he would hardly speak, hardly smile, so because I had that to draw from it, it kind of helped me to avoid being too preachy.
Right.
But the way I write is interesting. Like once I start to build the characters, I kind of like, once I finish the scene, I kind of get a message about what the next one should be, and I just keep building. It's like, I start with an outline of what each scene is going to be, and then I start to give. I write the characters. I'm like, oh, this character is going to be funny. This one is going to be like a mean person, or this one's going to love this or love that. That helps. And then, when I start to write, I know exactly what this character is supposed to do because I already know, okay, they like this or they hate that.
Great.
So.
No, that's great. It's actually, anyway, I have a master's in screenwriting, and I've talked at the Cannes Film Festival a bit, not to go on about myself, but but what you're saying too is that distinction between what the writer wants to have happen in the scene versus what the characters want. And that's sort of a master class in writing, because you want the characters to drive the story rather than what the writer kind of wants at the time.
Yes.
And that it really is kind of nice to have those characters drive it, because then that what you're watching is really coming from what the characters are doing to the story and the actions of the characters, right? Yeah. So no, that's great. That's amazing. So when you were directing those scenes that were so personal to you, did you find that challenging? Like, what were some of the unique challenges then when you were directing the actors related to that subject matter? I know that this is an odd interview, isn't it? It's not like it's like I know that you were on breakfast television recently and all that, and talking about this, but we're digging deeper and into the leadership side of this film. So, what did you find challenging about directing these acters? Going through these emotions and that.
Yeah, you're right, Carl. Directing this film was bittersweet. It was great to see, it come to life, but it was quite challenging. The lead actor, Costa, he said it a few times. Now, while I'm doing my thing, Patricia is crying, like she's crying in the background. Like I was crying a whole lot, like, during the shoot. I was also dealing with a personal challenge or struggle in my life while I was shooting this film. I must say that the message of the film is what kept me going.
Okay.
I was dealing with the biggest challenge of my entire life during the shooting of this film, and I almost stopped. But the message of the film, which is keep sailing always, just take one step and another. And I just thought, if I'm making a film that is supposed to give people strength in their lowest, this is my lowest. Let me tag onto the message of this film and finish it. And it helped me,
drive through it.
It helped me to pull through.
Yes.
But it was very emotional. But I think it was really great. I shared how personal this story was to me with the team members, and they came on board with me, and that really helped. They came on board with me. Yeah. They bought into it, and we were like a team, we're like a family, and that gave me a lot of solace too. But it wasn't that easy, because I was telling so there's a lot of pieces of my family in the story. Even my life as a mom, I borrowed from it and put something in there from my personal experience. My son has developmental delays, and it's there. So, just sitting there and watching the actions was kind of giving me like a lot of down moments, but it also helped me to pull it out of the actors, because I knew when they were not doing the right thing, because I've lived a lot of this thing, so it was kind of like bittersweet that way.
That's neat. That's great. Well, it is an interesting, to create that conflict which you did. Like, conflict was in every scene. I mean, that's what good directors do, and writers, but I did notice that there was always something there that was, sort of moving that scene onward, or the story onward. And I, it felt really, frankly, like a really well done movie on an international level, like when I was watching it.
Thank you.
My pleasure. So this was your first feature, and you did have it was a lower budget film. Were there any limitations or specific limitations that posed some hurdles during the production? I mean, I know that, I don't know if you want to mention Deborah Wright, your production manager. From what I heard, she did a great job in working together with you to kind of keep you on schedule and shoot this, because it's a big movie. I mean, the first cut of the movie was how many minutes? Do you remember that?
It was almost 2 hours and 30 minutes, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was a big cut, and there was a lot of scenes, a lot of locations. So, but did you want to talk a little bit about some of your, some of those limitations maybe?
Yeah. So, I mean, when you're shooting with a low budget, it's a bit difficult because you have to be a good manager. And I'm glad that, Deborah was there to work with me. But I also tapped into my relationships from over the years, because I always believe in using your network to increase your net worth. And I'm also always there to support my network. So I think this time I reached out to a lot of people in my network to support me, be it, with location. I reached out to you, Carl, too. And so I looked into my community of people. So, and said, what can this person help me with, and what can that person help me with?
There were a couple. There were some Travis students working on it too.
Yeah.
Some of the guys are here today.
Exactly, right? But what was important to making a good movie was not compromised at all. So the technical team, we made sure they knew exactly what they were doing.
You had a great cinematographer.
Yes,
it was
yes,
a cinematography.
He is brilliant.
What's his name?
Roger Singh.
Okay.
He is brilliant.
Yeah, very like the film is dynamite. You guys will see it, but the photography, the cinematography is beautiful.
Yeah,
it's well done.
Yeah,
and the lighting is great.
Yeah. So, but because we had a low budget, we had to shoot quickly, and when you're shooting quickly, sometimes it could be quite stressful, but we kind of made it work, I think our team was quite giving in terms of making sure that we maximize all the opportunities that we have to make a good film with low budget.
No, I noticed, I'm known for doing some low budget movies myself, and I was constantly trying to put the money on the screen. I mean, that's what you do with, great looking actors and great makeup and some nice production value, obviously, with nice locations. And you did that for sure. I mean, it actually does look like you've had a really good, decent budget, actually, when you watch the movie.
Yeah, people think so.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, it looks really good. What would you say was the most rewarding aspect of making this movie or directing the film? I know it's a bit of a general question, but were there any moments that made you sort of feel proud of this project when you thought, wow, I actually got this scene and it really did work, and it was hard to get, but I got it. Was there a moment that maybe the viewers will watch for in the film that you thought, wow, this was... Yeah.
There's a scene there that happened that it was just a scene I could only describe as spiritual. It was just like something divine. This is a scene where Gary Johnson was having that hallucination, like the opening scene of the film.
Right.
And, I had a conversation with Kosa, the actor, before this.
Yes.
And that day he wasn't feeling too well. He had a fever. So I was like, oh my God, not today. Yeah. But that scene was very important. Because that he was hallucinating, reliving his childhood trauma. Right. Yet he had a huge crowd waiting for him outside the auditorium that he had to go speak to. Okay. So he had to deal with this and still go speak to this large audience waiting for him, right?
Yeah.
And so he was dealing with that. And at some point, he had to look in the mirror and say, I am Gary Johnson. That was like a wake-up call to say, I can. I can do this. I have it in me. I am blessed. I'm a winner, and I got this. And so when he looked into the mirror and said, cleaned his tears and said, I am Gary Johnson, the way he said it, That was it. It was spiritual. Like when you watch it, you will connect with it. And as soon as he said that, he cleaned his face, got up, and went and gave a slam dunk. I was like, cool. Yes. I was so proud, and I felt, yeah, this is it. And I feel everybody, when they're watching that film, whatever they're going through, once you know who you are, it's like the Lion King when Simba was looking at his image in the water, his reflection, and he was scared. He thought somebody has come to fight him, but it was just his shadow. Right. His uncle was saying, to him, you are Simba, son of Mufasa. And as soon as he said, say it, as soon as he said it, he was ready to go fight his enemies. So it's the same kind of thing. Once you know who you are, whose you are, you can face any battle.
Wow, that's amazing. Give her a little round of applause, guys. I know we've got a couple of people in the studio here. I mean, that is, it takes a lot of guts to work towards this, because you do go out on a limb, Patricia, to get these magical moments, and it's not easy. For me, I got to say though, there was that one heartfelt scene where Gary's mom enters the church. Maybe we can play the clip in the editing of the show, but and praise for Gary's life. And I thought that scene was particularly was that scene hard for you to do? Because that scene really stood out to me as particularly kind of, it hit me really hard in a great way. Like I thought, wow, this is quite amazing.
Wow, I'm so glad you picked on that scene. So that scene, we didn't shoot when we're shooting the movie because we just didn't have the time. But the first time I went into that chapel, I went there for the, when my friend Harriet Thornhill was being made the Chancellor of Tyndale University. And when I entered the chapel, I was like, whoa, this place feels holy. Like, it wasn't just me. People were saying it. And I looked, I said, I want to shoot a movie here. And I said to Harriet, I have a film coming up. I'd like to use, and she's like, I'll hook you up. And Tyndale, offered that chapel. And the funny thing is that everyone said, we're done. Why don't you forget the chapel scene? I'm like, no. I've said, we must shoot that scene. And guess what? When we said, okay, we're going to shoot the scene, the actresses that dies when we're supposed to shoot. I'm like, wait a minute, like what is this scene like? So really? But I said, okay, so let's call the scene off since your dad just passed. She said, you know what, Patricia, I want to do it. And I'm like, really? So she came with raw emotion. Her dad just passed.
Yes.
So a few times we had to stop for her to really cry because she was mourning her father. And you're right. That was a spiritual moment. And it was like when she said that prayer, a miracle happened.
Well, I don't want to, create spoilers here because, and give the movie away. But I did find that particularly, it was very powerful. Like when I saw that scene, I think that was the moment that I thought, wow, Patricia's going to be a fantastic director. Like going forward, you're going to be unstoppable.
Thank you.
Like my pleasure. No, you don't have to thank me. I saw that scene and it just blew me away. And I've trained a lot of people in directing over the years. I've made some films or directed some movies, and I know what controlling the cinematic screen is all about. But I thought, wow, that was really incredible.
Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. I was going to ask you about ways that you implemented to keep the morale high on the set. Just to, the thing that I'm, with the research I've been doing lately with film mentorship and that with my PhD, I'm sort of delving into that area too, where we want to try to keep those that are on your crew. You want to show that you value them. And how do you motivate and show that you value them when it's 3 o'clock, 2, 3, 4 in the morning? What are some of the techniques that you would use as sort of a mentor to those that are on your set to do that? Like, is there something that worked for you on like how, I know there were tougher times.
Yes. Yeah. So
it's interesting you mentioned though the story about telling them that this is based on my life.
Yeah.
But were there other sort of tricks to the trade that you wanted to maybe mention a little bit?
From the onset, I wanted this to be like going to be with your family on set when folks came there. And Deborah, the production manager, I said, I want this to be like a family. When people come on set, I want them to feel loved. I want them to feel appreciated. I want us to take care of them. And I said, I want us to spoil them. If we're offering, rice and they want whatever, just let's show them that we love them. And Deborah ran with that. Okay. In fact, at the end of the production, they were calling her set mama. And so we made sure that everybody felt appreciated. If you didn't have a ride, we made sure that, we picked you up, or, and if we're running late, we'll have a meeting. Do you guys want us to continue, or do you want us to stop? So that it was a collaborative effort, and people were free to, there were a lot of heavy scenes in this movie. And whenever the scenes were not heavy, or even when the scenes were heavy, right after, we just found ways to make people liven up. There was hope everywhere. And that's how I wanted it to be. Even in the movie too, whenever things are not sad, I wanted them to be happy. The set decorator even said, because this is a psychological thriller, let's bring like some dark, furniture, dark. I've said, no. The only thing that's dark is the story, but I want there to be hope everywhere. And so even in the color of the wardrobe, there was hope everywhere in the location. Same thing with shooting the film. At the end of the day, I've been on sets when by the time we finished shooting, everybody was like, we hated each other. But this set was different. By the time we finished, people were like, we don't want to go. We don't want this to over. We're going to miss everybody. Like, when are we going to get together? We're always eager to get together. So there was so much love. We're like a family. Even when the film premiered in New York, there was no budget to fly people there. And they're like, oh, we're going to come. And they went. Right. And, like eager to just support the film. And it's because of that love. So I say value your people and let it be a collaborative work. Don't just go there and give them an agenda. Work together with them and show them love, because these are real people. And even when there's criticism, offer it with dignity and respect. And if all this put in place, and if issues do arise, talk over them in love. And I mean, there were times when there were a few things, and some people had to be called to the corner, and we talked, and we became sweethearts again. So
no, that's that does sound a lot like the mentorship and the coaching that it's interesting. I'm sorry, I'm a bit of a researcher now, but it's like I can see that what you're doing there is very similar to a coaching technique that is really needed, in order to make sure that set moves forward in a nice fashion. And it's because film is set up, as like everyone's got their sort of lanes or their silos that they're working in. It's really that director's job or producer's job to make sure that all those different departments are functioning together and going in the same sort of direction.
Yes.
And it's not easy. It's not easy to make that happen. It's almost a bit of a psychological. You do have to know about how to read people and understand them. As
being a director is the biggest test of someone's character and leadership, because you're dealing with so many things, especially when you're producing at the same time. You could lose your mind in the process, and so you could shout at people, but then if you're able to still be sane and people love you after, it's a big plus.
Well, it's great to hear that they want to work with you again too. And I'm sure they do. But it's it is it's got to be that tricky balance of control and discipline and hope and love too. It's nice. Well, in your experience, how does effective leadership on the set sort of impact the quality of the movie? I think it does.
It does. It does. Again, going back to that, what I had in mind, this is a family. Someone said family is like the teeth and the lips. Sometimes, the teeth can bite the lips, but they're still there, right? So, and that's what I came there into this project, kind of like saying to myself, we're going to be like that, like family. So, and we had a conversation. And at the end of the day, everybody was like happy, you know, things. And there was a few times when things happened and people stepped up. But I think leadership, you know, is very important in everything. Even when an actor is having a bad day and they're not able to give you what you expected, showing some understanding sometimes helps, because, you know, sometimes, you know, you have to pull off this thing and they screw everywhere, people standing there, you miss it a couple of times, now you're embarrassed, now you've lost it, now you're like, oh my God, and then time is going, it's a low budget, so you have to hurry up.
Yeah. Well, sometimes even simple things is, I mean, I've done some movies, and, you know, even sometimes the characters or the actors can't remember their lines in the scene, right?
Yeah, and that happens.
I mean, it does, especially at 2 or 3 in the morning.
I believe that more flies can be caught with honey than vinegar. So, and it's worked for me, especially on this set. So I think leading in love is the best way to lead. Living in love. It's people, you can pull out the best in people. I've seen scenes where people say, no, I can't do it. And I don't freak out. I'm understanding, I'll talk with you. And most of these people went beyond what the things they said they couldn't do, they went beyond it. So I think it's just showing understanding and love and leadership, you know, can make the film better in so many ways. Yeah.
Wow. So I've got a big question for you. This is one of the biggest questions. What do you hope audiences, so the movie's coming out March 28th in theaters across Canada. And everyone, by the way, all the crowd and everyone listening, you've got to go see this movie. March 28th, but it's in theaters for at least a week, maybe 2 weeks. So don't keep searching for it and find it in your local theaters. Imagine Theaters, is that?
Yes, Imagine Theaters and Landmark.
And Landmark Theaters as well.
Across Canada. Yeah.
So the question here I've got for you, what do you hope audiences that see it in the theater on the big screen will take away from The Life Coach after seeing it? Are there any particular sort of emotions or reflections that you think hopefully viewers will experience?
Yes. I mean, the first thing is, we all have insecurities. I just want you to know that you're not alone. You know, you're not alone. We all have issues that we're dealing with. You know, when you watch this, you see Gary Johnson perfect in the public eye and then having these personal struggles and the importance of self-acceptance. That's another message I really want people to understand. That's a journey that I'm actually on. I'm still on that journey of accepting myself, of loving myself, of believing that I matter. Because sometimes, I also have my own childhood, traumas. So believing that you matter, and then taking care of your mental health. And going back to the basics, how we used to be in days of old, as a community, right? And that's so important, because the battle against mental health or any other battle cannot be won alone. You need allies. You need people to stand beside you. And it's time that we as a people have to start standing up for each other and helping each other. Gary Johnson's biggest support system was his assistant. His personal assistant at work, not even his family member. So let's be family, not even just to those who are our family, but to anyone, because you can you can save people. Like when he left, Gary he couldn't handle things. But when so I'm just saying to us, let's look out for each other, let's help each other, let's love up on each other, and let's not shy away from topics that are hurting even one of us. Mental health is one thing that's hurting many of us, and let's not shy away from that. These are some of the things and lessons that I hope people can take away, and the redemptive power of love. Love is something that we all need in our lives, and even if it's not in a romantic relationship, just everyone around us, if we can spread that, the world will be a better place.
Can I ask you, there's music in your film, obviously. It's some really good music. I didn't really talk much about that, or we haven't. Do you want to say a couple of words about the music and the soundtrack? Because it is quite well done.
I'm glad you asked about the music, because that was So I became a songwriter, because the guy that did the music, Norman. Norman is an amazing, guy. He did the scoring so well.
Okay.
And then I also, through your connection, I got Paul
Right.
Ilu to support as well.
Yes.
But there were these two scenes that I wanted to bring some Afrobeat, sound to
awesome.
it. So I wrote the two songs.
Really?
Yeah.
That's great.
So when you watch the movie, you're gonna see there's a dance in the garden between Gary and one of his love interests. And then I wanted to write the theme song as well because I already had the words in my head. And those two songs are Afrobeat songs.
We should release those songs on Spotify.
Yeah, soon. After the movie's out, we'll do that. Yeah, you get to hear the songs on Spotify. But the music's really great. It just helped to capture all the emotions, the roller coaster of emotions that was going on in the film.
Yes.
And there was a lot of great music. Yeah.
I should say too, getting into your approach on the casting of the film. You've got a great cast. Can you tell us a little bit about how the casting went and what the approach was with the movie and how that sort of transpired or worked out? It worked out very well. Everyone is dynamite in the film.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of this cast. Babatunde Agunloye was the casting director, supported by myself. But it's funny how I met the guy that played Gary Johnson. So went to this TIFF event, and I walked in and I saw this fellow. By now I started to kind of conceptualize the film in my head.
Right.
So I was thinking of who Gary Johnson would look like or be. So I've been thinking about it. So when I walked in and I saw this fellow, I'm like, this guy looks like the guy I was thinking of. Very crazy.
Yeah.
So I didn't even know if he was an actor or not. So, and then we got talking later in the evening and I said, are you an actor? He said, yes. So I said, there's a film I'm working on. I think you should audition.
Sounds like a line that I used to use.
Yeah. And then, so we didn't talk for a while. And then 4 days after I finished writing the script, this fellow texted me, what about the movie you said you were going to make?
Wow.
So I'm like, okay, this is confirmation that this is the guy, right?
You better start writing that movie.
A few days after I finished the script, he writes me, texts me. So he came for the audition and he was great. And then
his name?
Kosa Akaraiwe.
Okay.
And then Sylvain, the assistant director brought Sylvain, and from the moment I saw Sylvain, who was Gary's assistant, Sylvain is this tall guy, but very sweet. I just knew this is the guy that's going to be this loving assistant to Gary.
Okay.
And then Gary's mommy, Ifeanyi wanted to play the love interest. When she came on, I'm like, she auditioned well for that. And I said, you did a great job, but I think you're going to play the mom. She's like, no, I want to play the love interest. So, but she did so well. Like everyone that watched the film, like they kept saying that she was outstanding. So that's how we got her. And then Linda Osifo, she's a seasoned actress. She has about 6 or 7 movies on Netflix. She's a Nollywood star, Canadian. She's Canadian, but she went home to pursue her acting dream there.
Yes.
So she's, I've been her mentor for years, right from when she was a teenager. So I wanted her for the role of Lorraine.
Linda was really interesting in that, she didn't take it too far. Like it was nice that it worked out very well. Very, very slick professional performance with her. Because it's not easy. Like it could have gone too much.
Her role was difficult because, exactly. Because this is somebody you're supposed to love, but you haven't met physically, right? So, so we had to be measured. And we talked about that a lot, Do you want me to when I see him to be excited? I said, but you haven't met him. You don't know him. So you have to. Right. So, it was interesting. But one of the cast members that I thought I should share her story is Laurie. Laurie Canlas de Parler. So Laurie is a therapist. So when she saw the casting call, and she saw that mental health was a theme in this film, she was like, I want to be part of this film because she lost her sister who had some developmental delays. Her sister had developmental delays. So when she saw that this was one of the themes, she said, I want to be in it to support my sister because her sister passed away in Toronto. And it was as a result of some of the challenges that she had.
Yes.
So I didn't know that. So when she came, her audition wasn't great. So I wasn't going to pick her.
I see. Yeah.
But I had a dream. This is true story.
Really?
I had a dream and she was playing Lisa. And I called the assistant director. I said, I don't know what to do. Her audition was bad, but I had this dream and I had this conviction that she should play this role, even though she wasn't that great.
You sound like a director, by the way.
And he said, honor the dream, just honor it. So I said, okay, guess what? On the day of our wrap party, she called me to the boardroom and said, Patricia, there's something I have to tell you. She said, I've never acted before. I wanted to do this film because my sister that passed, because she had developmental delays. She was kind of murdered in Toronto. And she said, when you called me to play the role of Lisa, I couldn't believe it because my sister's name was Lisa.
Wow.
And I was like, no way. Your sister's name was Lisa? She said, I didn't want to tell you until we finished filming because I didn't want it to affect anything. But she said, yeah. I think this cast was divinely picked.
That is so cool.
Maybe that's why the people love the film so much, because there was a certain thing about even just the cast.
That blows me away. But that's just more evidence that this movie's happened for a reason. It's got, such a magical message to it, and I must commend you. Like you're just amazing. I'm just going to say a couple of words that, my mom was in a wheelchair for about 25 years with multiple sclerosis. And I don't know, I shouldn't get into this on the podcast, but, I look back and it's those people that, treated my mom in just like a nice, regular person. And those are the people that I really looked up to, because those are the people that, really just it didn't matter to them whether or not my mom was in a wheelchair or not. My mom became an incredible artist and a mouth painter. But, I think that this is also one of the reasons why when I watch the movie, it allows me to take that journey with you and sort of look at my life and say, hey, how was this, really kind of affecting me and giving me hope that the world will change for the better. And I think that that's one of the reasons why, I don't know, I think it's such an incredible movie that has such a dynamite message. Sorry about that, guys. I think is there any? I think we just, we've done a great interview here with you. But I think, is there any, for all those young filmmakers that are, they look up to you now, Patricia. Patricia, they look up to you, and can you what kind of inspirational or advice could you give those aspiring young filmmakers, even musicians or creative folks that are looking to create, say, their first story or feature film idea? What sort of words of advice would you like to give them on the Gamebreakers? Yeah.
First of all, I'll say only be afraid of standing still. Let me borrow those words. Only be afraid of not pursuing your dreams. Only be afraid of not taking that first step. Only be afraid of being afraid. It is possible. A few years ago, the life coach was just an idea in my head. I didn't know how I was going to raise the funds to do it. I didn't know how this was going to work out, but I started by just, putting an outline out and then a script. And then I started to tell people about it, Because imagine if I didn't make the film, I had already spoken to ᴇxᴘᴏᴏᴇᴘᴜᴜ about auditioning, and now he's like, Patricia, when are you going to make, what about the film you said we're going to make? So, I would say, when you're ready, call your network. Don't do it alone. Call people, like when I wanted to make this film, I started to tell people, I want to make this film, you think you can help me with this, or do you know anybody that can do this and that? And before I knew it, I pulled a team together. And the other thing is, once you have started to this journey, ask yourself the question, why do I really want to make this film? And I think the reason I made this film is the reason this film is successful. Like when I, call the theaters and they're like, oh, we don't want to take this film. I'm like, I'm not taking no for an answer. People have to see this film. Like, it's going to bless them. It's going to be, and that conviction is what made me not to give up. And because I didn't give up, we're here today. We're having this conversation, and this film is winning awards all over the world. I mean, I couldn't go for most of the festivals. I mean, we're winning at festivals I couldn't even go to. So this shows that it is possible. And I want to say to you that it is possible. Just only be afraid of not starting. So just start, and once you start, you see it will just keep going. We can't give up. I have personally taken on a challenge because of how difficult it was to get my film in theaters. And I know that I speak to a lot of friends who in the industry, they make films that people don't see. I've decided that I will do something about it. I'll become an advocate and find a way for independent filmmakers to have their work seen. Because I always believe that when things are not working, it's incumbent on me, not somebody else.
I just wanted to say too, I know that it is really hard for Canadian filmmakers to get their movies into Canadian cinemas. And
because the Americans have taken the screen.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And we need to change that. We need to actually help Canadian filmmakers make more movies. And that's actually one of my personal goals as well. So, and I know...
So we're going to do it together.
Well, that would be great. That'd be great. And I know there are some really cool things that we have in mind for the future in terms of working together on some things. So I think what I'll do then, and once again, I watch for the movie, folks, March 28th in cinemas across Canada. Patricia, you are an incredible leader and trailblazer in the Canadian film and TV entertainment industry. Watching you succeed and blossom in this competitive industry is truly inspiring. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Carl.
My pleasure, our pleasure. I truly appreciate your time and insights. And it's been an honor to have you into the studio on the Gamebreakers. I'm Kalman Szevgary for the film, music, and entertainment segment on the Gamebreakers podcast. And thank you for watching. Thank you for listening.
Gamebreakers is home to everything esports and basketball. Let's break the game.
MDS is a full home construction company cantered in the heart of Hamilton, Ontario. We can support all our clients' needs from plumbing, electrical, drywall, flooring, framing, stairs, and more. Contact us today for a quote. 905-520-4202. The Gamebreakers podcast features opinions from its hosts and guests, which do not reflect the views of affiliated organizations. The content is for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be taken as professional advice. The podcast and website are not legally binding, and the hosts make no guarantees regarding the accuracy or completeness of the information. Listeners should consult a qualified professional for specific advice. By listening, you accept responsibility for your own decisions and actions. The creators disclaim any liability for damages resulting from the use or reliance on the podcast's content.